Now, I don't know if any of you are as ordered as that, perhaps. It's funny he's working for the IRD. No, actually, I shouldn't say that. Might come back and bite me. But, sometimes we can get our lives so ordered, can't we? They've got this and got to have this, and almost people just get blotted out. Get the job done. And I think for us as Christians, this can be a challenge for us too. I think actually as Christians we can be relationally challenged more than a lot of people, especially when it comes to relating to those who are not of our kind. You know what I mean? And one of the things, it's a bit like, what was his name again? Harold, thank you. It's a bit like Harold. We get busy. There's things to do. We've got, whether it's involved in church or whether it's involved in work or whatever it is. Actually, it's not just a church problem, it's a society problem. We get busy and we've got to keep things rolling over and keep the machine ticking. And it's not a good thing. I was talking to, and it's right throughout the culture actually. I was talking to Alicia. She'd been in a school production and they had the choir up there. And later on I said to her, Alicia, look, why aren't you in the choir? You've got a great voice. And she said, Dad, if I join that choir, that's Wednesday out. And on Monday, I'm doing this for lunch, and Tuesday, I'm doing this, and third, I'm on peer support, and da-da-da-da-da. And she's like 10, And she's like, I just avoided the headmistress runs it. She said, I don't go there. There's just too much on. I want to lunch out of myself. Our society is like that. And when there's so much stuff to do, the people get missed out, don't they? Second reason I guess we find ourselves relationally challenged is often we've got family. And hands up those who have got completely well-adjusted families. No problems at all. Oh, brilliant. I knew you. Rob, can you be my dad? Really, too? But, what? Is it? But it is, we got families with issues and problems, and we're kind of busy kind of helping them out or dealing with these things, and that kind of sucks the energy out of it, doesn't it? And so we kind of don't have any extra to give, almost, it feels like at times. The third reason, though, and I think especially for us as Christians, that we're probably relationally challenged, is that for many of us, I suspect, we've actually got enough friends as it is. We're quite happy with the friends we've got. I don't need another friend. I've got Basil, Ernie, and Bert. I'm happy. And we don't need that hassle, that other person entering and kind of spawning that dynamic, that nice kind of dynamic we've got going on. This is like the curse of the home group, isn't it? We're all set, we're all happy. And then some other person comes along and they've got a bad sense of humour or they're really intense and serious and everyone's got to be nice. And it's like, we spent so long just trying to get to the spot. We're in nirvana of home groups. And a very important point, because Jesus placed quite an importance on our level of comfort, didn't he? It was sarcasm too. They didn't pick up on the surface either. This is what love is about. Sometimes love hurts. But sometimes we can have our life so boxed and ordered and that we just don't have the room for that extra stuff. And I want to say from the outset, if you decide to take part in this idea of this 15-minute revolution, it's not going to come cheap. It is going to come at a cost. The box is going to get broken or torn. And there are a whole bunch, because people don't like inconveniencing themselves. There's a bunch of reasons why people don't like inconveniencing themselves. For a start off, if you inconvenience yourself, it might be embarrassing. You try and help someone and then they find out that they misinterpret what you're doing or they don't need help and they get flustered and you look like an idiot. That's the one I always struggle with. Oh, what if I actually try and be nice and they don't really want me to be nice or helpful? We have this risk-averse society, don't we, where we don't really want to step into someone else's messes because it's just an uncomfortable kind of feeling. And I guess and once again, this is a society problem. We are a risk-averse society. I heard about this documentary a while back where they got a child and they put this child, this TV crew had them, and they put him in a wall. And for some reason, they made him cry. I don't know how they made him cry, but so this little kid was wandering around in this mall crying. They had secret cameras all around the place, so no one knew. All the people could see was this little child. Big mall, lots of people around. And they were timing to see how long it would take to for this kid to get picked up. Picked up by someone who cared, not picked up by someone dodgy. And anyway, so guess how long it took? No, it wasn't an hour. It was about 13 minutes. Which is if you're a little kid, 13 minutes is a long time, eh? In a busy shopping mall. Guess how many people passed that little child? Over 150. Amazing, eh? And the guy who actually finally, when someone actually did kind of go and see this little kid, and you okay? And then all of a sudden these camera crews descend on him. It's like, oh. But they said, why did you do this? And we've actually watched you. You've actually passed that kid 3 times. And he said, I didn't want to look like a creep. Like I was going to pick this little kid up or do something, abduct him. And we have this kind of risk-averse mentality, and I can understand it, but at the same time, is it God-honouring? Is this what God wants? Is this the kind of society God's wanting to build? We were too scared for our own personal safety. There's this whole lack of wanting to connect. And I guess there is risk involved when we do connect with people. We don't know. They might have issues. They might not like us or want us to help. But is this revolution worth the risk? Is creating a revolution that seeks to bring God's kindness and care and goodness and generosity into the world, is it worth the risk? I guess another reason that this whole idea of a revolution of kindness can be a bit challenging is that we can't always count the cost. It's a bit like you builders will understand when you're trying to price a alteration. It looks all good on the outside, but deep down, if you pull those weatherboards off, you've got no idea what's going to be in there, do you? It could be completely rotted out. Putting a price on an alteration is a nasty job. Unless you're allowed to rip the walls off, of course, but then if you decide then they've got to take your quote, don't they? Or they can't put it back together. And sometimes this is like when we're dealing with people. You might you might see someone and give them a compliment and have a bit of a chat, and then they might start telling you the whole life story, and it gets bigger and bigger, and you think, you can't always price these things. Love is very hard to price. Sometimes it ends up a lot bigger than you intended. Sometimes it's only a small little incidents. That's why the whole 15-minute thing isn't really, it's just basically it's just a doable kind of number, but it's not that particular, because love is very hard. I've got one of the stories I got from this conference from this guy Paul Scanlon. I've actually bought now, and so if we can have that, because that's a good one.
Getting a plane, and the plane was late in, so your connection slimmed down. So I'm in Chicago, and I have to run to get the plane, and I'm running to get the plane, and I check in, and the lady said to me, well, the plane's about to go, you need to run. So I run, and then you get to the conveyor belt security check, and there's a long line. So I'm going to miss the plane. So I asked the staff, the security people, my plane's going, can I get to the front? And they say, okay. So I go down to the front, people give you that scowl. So I go down to the front, and I'm getting, you're taking everything off that you possibly can. Take your shoes off, your belt, and then the thing still goes off, doesn't it? You think, what else have I got to take off? So I'm taking my shoes off and stuff, and I'm like this, bent down doing this, not realizing that I ain't going anywhere. Because in front of me is an old lady. She's about 78. She's got a walking stick, and she is so slow, putting stuff on the belt. And as she's doing that, and I'm behind her, like giving the impression I'm in a rush. Hello, can we move this along a little bit? She looked very fragile.